Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of FinTech News. I'm your host, Nicholas Beliveau, and today we have, once again, the pleasure of having Sagar, our head of research here at FinTech Cadence. Today we have some really interesting news, 4 topics that we'd like to share with you. The first being Holt, which announces its top 8 startups, which are accepted into the 2019 cohort program. So we'll dive in and explain those 8 startup companies. Better.com, which raises its Series C of $160 million. So a mortgage company from the United States. We'll then go to Israel to explain what applications. And lastly, MasterCard, which is planning to hire its very own crypto team. So the biggest news is coming actually here from Montreal this week with Holt and its 2019 cohort of startups. So out of hundreds that applied, a couple were selected for demo day about a month ago, and now ultimately 8 were selected and announced yesterday. And we have a list here that was just released, so we'll run through it. Maybe Sagar, you could kick it off, and we'll intertwine and see any patterns that emerge.
Well, speaking about patterns, one of the first things that I observe is all these startups are really targeting a very specific niche. It's a very well-rounded cohort that they have this time, all the way from cryptos and cybersecurity to non-interest Islamic lending, which is a very interesting niche geography that or demographic that they can target. So that's what I see here. It's a very niche market that already has proven sales. And that's the kind of investment thesis I think that Holt likes to follow. A product that is new and something that we haven't seen in Canada, proven sales, and a very niche market as compared to other VCs that are looking for the next big thing, which is kind of like sometimes counterintuitive to the startup philosophy that we have. So. I like the companies this time that they've selected.
And it's going to be a lot of fun because actually we just announced as well that tomorrow a lot of these companies, 6 or 8 of them, will be present at our first ever FinTech Drinks, where we'll be discussing a FinTech unicorn in the making. So we got Blinks and Luge Capital as well as Portage Ventures. They'll be present there with us. And these startups from the Holt Accelerator program. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Well, I'll just run through quickly their names and congratulate them at the same time. So we got Conatix. So they're a cybersecurity firm that helps banks detect suspicious employee activity, improper behavior, policy violations, and other threats on IT networks with thousands of employees in real time. There's a Confirm You, which helps people with little or no credit history gain access to financial products by combining financial data and a questionnaire into an alternative credit scoring system. There's HODLbot, a Canadian customizable cryptocurrency trading bot that enables users to index the market, create and automatically rebalance their cryptocurrency portfolios. Lex Align allows companies to generate customized compliance documents to identify their compliance gaps. There's Mat AI, and you wanted to actually dive into this one. Mat AI allows people and organizations to exchange digital documents safely and efficiently using an encrypted wallet. So before I go on to the next 3, you want to just dive into this one a bit?
Right. The first interesting part, it comes from Brazil. That's one of the interesting parts about this startup. The second is, even though I mentioned that all of them are targeting niches, this one has a really huge potential market because digital documents it's not only a problem for financial services industry, it's a problem for all industries in general. So, and they're using an encrypted wallet, and I haven't delved deep into what they do, but the use of encrypted wallet and AI combined for the exchanging digital documents, this could be a very big game changer, similar to the OWL startup that they had in the first cohort.
Right. And what's the difference between using an encrypted wallet per se versus just on the blockchain? Because when I see exchanging digital documents, like the encrypted wallet, I guess, is part of the blockchain. I'm trying to learn here, Sagar.
Yeah. I don't know if they use blockchain or what they really mean by encryption. That is an interesting question. And that's something that we can definitely talk about. As you mentioned, they're going to be there tomorrow. So I'm definitely going to ask them this question as what they really mean by an encrypted wallet.
Okay.
Is it just simple cybersecurity or security measures, or do they actually use blockchain? I believe they won't be using blockchain because it's scalability in blockchain is really hard.
Gotcha.
And if they want to target a big market, it has to be something else.
Okay. The three others I wanted to mention, we have Manzo, which offers interest-free Islamic loans, as many of the world's 1 billion Muslims cannot pay or receive interest on financial transactions, so hindering their ability to buy a house. There's MarketsFlow, a British startup that offers a portfolio optimization platform delivering high returns for online investors and claims to consistently outperform other robo-advisors. What did we see on their website earlier?
It's a 30% return for the last year on the high growth portfolio. I'm really interested to see how they make that happen. If they can actually do this, it's
a game changer.
It's really impressive, because beating the market in general, the S&P 500 or any other index, by just a few percentage points is considered impressive, and 30% is almost beating the S&P by 15 percentage points, which is,
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. It's high.
And then the last one, WealthBlock AI. So it's a US-based company which invites investors to view financial documents via secure link, tracking interactions between the investors and the entrepreneurs to gauge interest and streamline follow-ups. So a really interesting batch of 8 startups. And as they progress through the Holt program, we'll probably get some more information. They'll be presenting at the demo day on October 21st. In October. So we'll be able to follow them over the next 3 months, see their progress, and hopefully maybe interview a couple of them along the way. We'll move on to our next news of today, which is Better.com, which raises $160 million Series C, coming up to a couple hundreds of millions of total funding, and now getting the backing of some big companies behind them. Could you run us through what Better.com is all about?
When we're reading about the news story, it's an interesting backstory that the founder has. So he was looking to buy a house, and he missed on the opportunity of buying his dream house, probably because of the slow and bureaucratic lending process. And he was frustrated at that point, understandably. And he used the money that he was going to invest for the down payment to build this Better.com, and it's automating the entire mortgage process, removing the red tape, the high fees, and making it simpler for people like you and I to get mortgages for homes. It's very similar to startups in Canada like Nesto and Mortgage, that are also trying to disrupt the same industry. I'm not surprised that they have such high growth over the past few years, because I spoke with the founder at Nesto, and he said the same thing. The demand for the product is really high, and people are desperate to have some kind of solution that allows them to have easier mortgages.
And it makes sense, because you save 50% of the time necessary. You don't need to go in person to the bank and have a bunch of follow-up meetings with the mortgage broker. It's much more streamlined this way, and often you're getting a better rate as well, because it's cutting the commission involved in a mortgage. So it's clear that online mortgages just make sense for 2019. And right now, Better.com, we saw it's only available in the United States and only select states, but we have the Canadian equivalent already here.
Yep.
Cool. Next, Israel. So Israel announced that it's going to try to fast track 2,000 applications for FinTech, which means that these 2,000 FinTech companies need to be approved by the regulators to be able to operate. Similarly, here in Quebec, we have the AMF, l'Autorité des Marchés Financiers, which needs to validate companies willing to work in the financial industry. And there's some processes here that you could talk about, like the sandbox, which kind of makes that collaboration a bit easier.
Right. So in Quebec, the AMF came up with the sandbox idea, I would say about 1.5 years ago, where FinTech that is, let's say, in the gray zone or does not know if they're violating any regulations can go to the AMF and say, hey, we want to test our product and our company and see if you're violating any regulations. And the AMF is also happy about that process, because then they can see if there are any regulations that don't make sense or are archaic, right, because of the changes in technology. Then it allows both of them to work in a cohesive and mutually beneficial manner. In Israel, based on what we read, it seems to be a different process. You have to apply for the license before get approved, and it seems that they have very stringent regulatory process for financial services industry. So that's why I think they're building this fast track method, because a lot of the startups, as we read, were leaving Israel and causing the economy, the fintech industry.
And we're seeing a lot of, even, for example, during the Holt application days, right, a lot of founders from Israel coming here, even to Montreal, to be able to see what programs are available. So definitely an interesting move from the Israeli government to be able to open up and facilitate these innovative companies to keep them in their country.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Fintech is growing in general everywhere. We see news every day, which is why we do the fintech news. So it's a brave, and it's not brave, it's an intelligent decision by the Israeli government. Yeah.
Cool. And now on to our last point, which is I found very interesting, because we spoke about MasterCard last week in the news, which did its biggest acquisition ever, over $1 billion, I think, or just under $1 billion. It was just around that price point. But this week, they announced that they're planning to hire a crypto team. So a credit card company moving into crypto, it was very probable and likely, but that they're actually working on now actually getting the human resources within their companies is an interesting and bold move. What's your take on this?
One of the sentences that really stuck out is MasterCard wants to be seen as a tech firm, not as a payments processor in the future. That was really, it was an interesting
comment. It points out their strategic direction and how the industry is changing as a whole.
Exactly right, exactly. And this move is to just develop intelligence about cryptocurrencies and blockchain and where it's headed. And cryptocurrencies, I think when we did our first FinTech news and we spoke about Libra, can be really, again, the word game changer, or can be really disruptive for the payments processing industry in general. So that's why I believe they want to be, they want to stay ahead of the game and not get thrown out or have their Kodak moment by a startup that has a better processing or payments processing system.
I like that, their Kodak moment.
That's what all financial institutions are scared about right now, having that Kodak moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was another interesting week in FinTech. Thank you for everybody who tuned in and joined us. My name is Nicholas Bovo. He's Cigar, and we'll catch you all next Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time for another episode of FinTech News. Have a great week.